Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, returns to the Lone Star State this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. Race 1 yesterday saw this 20-turn, 3.4-mile track challenge seasoned veterans and GT3 rookies alike. Over 130 feet of elevation change, high-speed S's and tight hairpins await the 16 cars that have answered the call for the 6th race of the 2023 season, which is now just minutes away.
You were just minutes away from the packed grid down here. Almost 10,000 tickets have been sold this weekend here at COTA for the homecoming of SRO America. As you mentioned, this is the second race for the Fanatec GT race. We are just moments away from getting going. As you can see, the tires are going on this GT machinery. And to get a lap around COTA, let's go on board with Will Hardiman, a local guy that loves coming to COTA. He's got you taken.
Hi, I'm Will Hardiman, driver of the number 19 Mercedes AMG GT3, here to give you your Fanatec preview of Circuit of the Americas. Now, here's turn 1. You can fire it in a little early and narrow, or you can prioritize the exit and get a little bit better launch out of the exit with a wider entry. Now, here at turn 2, we like to, nibble the apex if you're having a little bit of understeer to mitigate that. S's, you want to really fire it in deep and keep your rolling speed up. 4th gear through those, nibble all the turtles. Now you have turn 6 where we'd like to just keep a tidy line, a little bit tight and low, maybe a little bit of a diamond. Turn 7, we like to roll through this with just a little bit of a lift, keep it tidy and tight within the corkscrew here, turn 8 and 9. Now we have a blind entry into turn 10, so it's wide open flat, all the way into 11. We have a downhill brake zone, but then it's ascending up to the apex, so the front end grip actually picks up here. You really want to get a good exit out of 11 because it's the longest straightaway on the track. Use all the exit curbing that you can. Time to sit back and relax, look at your gauges, talk on the radio, check everything, and just take a deep breath and relax before you get into the next brake zone of turn 12, which is the highest speed portion of the track. Braking a little after the 1 to 50, going in nice and deep and trying to carry some speed through here. Use all the exit curbing, down to 2nd gear, up to 3rd, back down to 2nd quickly for turn 13. Try to be patient before you get to power through here. Now we have the stadium section, and just try to keep your rolling speed up. The car's on a knife edge right here, but get out of this section nice and easy. Use all the exit curbing. Open the carousel up as much as you can, then turn in early where the groove is. Don't go too high where the marbles are. And then I like to keep it a little tidy and tight on the exit. Now you want to hustle the car to the right for turn 19 here. A little bit of a downshift here. The car's a little loose today. And then keep your rolling speed up through the apex. Now the final corner 20, you want to open up and keep it tidy. Use all the apex curbing, and that's a lap at Circuit of the Americas.
After stops in Sonoma and New Orleans, it is a homecoming for SRO America as we come right here to Austin, Texas at the Circuit of the Americas. Fanatec GT is going to have 17 entries on the grid this weekend, and as they say, everything is bigger in Texas. Just look at that guy. 419 steps later, we are at the top of the tower here to look over that impressive shot of turn number 1 here at COTA. It's one of the most action-packed corners in all of racetracks in North America, and that is exactly what this Fanatec GT class is going to have to face as we kick off race number 1 and 2 here in Austin. But let's go straight to that pro category. Take a look at the pairing of Eric Filgaris and Stephen McAleer with 2 wins on the season. They come in as the points leader, but Bill Oberlin and Chandler Hull picking up that victory in NOLA puts them right there against that Porsche. Racer's Edge will look to bounce back this weekend. Not the brightest spot for them in NOLA, but they'll turn things around here this weekend. Well, if turn 1 isn't tricky enough, that entry into the S's here is going to set up teams for success all the way into the backstretch here at the Circuit of the Americas for our Pro-Am teams. George Kurtz and Colin Brown lead in that category, followed by Elliott Skier and Adam Adelson. What I love here is you go back to the performance as NOLA, and that's where you'll find in 3rd place Derek DeBoer. In our AM category, the Bartone Brothers Racing are back out with us again this weekend as they gain experience for rookie Anthony Bartone. In addition to Fanatec GT for this homecoming weekend in Austin, you'll see the Pirelli GT4 class on track, GT America powered by AWS, as well as TC America powered by Skip Barber. Toyota, the GR Cup returns to us here this weekend, but a special shout out to Mr. GT World Challenge himself. James Safronis celebrates 350 races. Well done, James.
Time to look at highlights from race 1 of the weekend yesterday. It was a thriller, that's for sure. It all started with James Safronis waving the green flag. Eric Filgaris led the field into turn 1 for the first time. The battle was on early and often a little bit further back behind the RS1 car. And there you saw Scott Smithson go around at the top of the hill. Fierce fighting throughout the field on the opening lap. A spin from Will Hardiman into the barriers, but he was able to continue on. This was the big dramatic moment of the race. Chandler Hull, Manny Franco coming together, major impact. Good news is the BMW will be able to come onto the grid here today. Unfortunately, Manny Franco will not. Full course yellow. Then we had the pit stops. There was that moment there. Stephen McAleer was told to give a position back. He did not until this moment. It bottled everybody up all together. And there was some frantic racing from that point on. Some wounded race cars as well. Big move up the inside. This set up another major confrontation. That was Elliott Skier coming to the inside. And the big loser there was Colin Brown, who went around. But at the end of the race, it was Elliott Skier and Wright Motorsports that came through to win the opening race here at COTA.
At the front of the grid, George Kurtz, his co-driver, is right behind him. He will lead us to green. And George, we said that the radar looks very colorful during your half of the race, and you said, of course it is. Talk about racing in the rain.
Well, it seems that I normally get the rain stint, particularly at Spa, so I don't mind the rain at all. And if we can put together some good laps here, hopefully Colin will put us in good position. And it's going to be slippery for everybody. It's all the same conditions, and I think the people who make the best tire choices are going to have a good shot at being at the front of the field.
Good luck today.
Thank you.
It will be exciting to start this race. We've had some rain come through here recently, Calvin. Great to have you alongside again. Big unknown, though, is the weather here today.
Well, it really is the key right now as to what these teams do in prepping these cars. Do you soften the cars out for a little bit in terms of preparing for any rain and then give you an advantage then, or did you just throw everything on the table right now? So it's going to stay dry. Let's get the ultimate lap and setup that we can from these cars right now.
70 degrees under overcast skies, and there is a threat of some more rain in this opening stint of this 90-minute race. We will see. But to get this race started, let's hear the most famous words in motorsports from guest of CrowdStrike, Fernando Martinez.
Drivers, start your engines!
And with those words, 16 GT3 cars roar to life and are about to head out on 2 formation laps around this epic Circuit of the Americas. Great onboard shots that we have for you on our coverage here today. This is on board with Samantha Tan, ST Racing, the team, the beautiful BMW M4 GT3, starting further back than she'd like. Also have an onboard shot here in this Racer's Edge Acura that will be started by Mario Farnbacher. Ashton Harrison will join him, I should say. And for John Edwards, it will be John Edwards aboard the ST Racing car to begin Race 2 this weekend, of course. With the Race 2 of the weekend, the pros start in the Pro-Am lineups. Take a look now at the starting grid for the second of 2 races this weekend at Circuit of the Americas. On the front row, Colin Brown, the Texan, will drive for CrowdStrike by Riley. Great pole position, just barely over Ryan Dial, the Scotsman. Stephen McAleer, another Scotsman there, starting in the inside of the second row. He'll have the Canadian Daniel Morad alongside. Elliott Skier, a winner overall yesterday, and the rapid Frenchman Valentin Hassaclo make up row number 3. In row 4, you find Mario Farnbacher for Racer's Edge. Jan Haywan, very quick Belgian, veteran driver alongside. Brian Sellers and Corey Lewis, 2 teammates from DXDT Racing in row 5. Spencer Pompelli, Trenton Estim, a pair of Porsches from ACI Motorsports and MDK respectively. John Edwards for ST Racing and Adam Carroll in row 7. And finally, row 8, Anthony Bartone and Chandler Hull, who will have to start this race from the pit lane. Down to the pit lane now, where Amanda has found 2 very special guests.
Well, starting with the president of SRO North America, Greg Gill, taking in this homecoming weekend for the series right here in Austin, Texas. We had horses on the grid. We had 17 GT cars, a mariachi band. Talk about the celebratory series for the weekend.
Oh, we are so excited. It's awesome. This is our 10-year anniversary here at COTA. The fans have been great. The industry has been great. The grid walk was packed. What a great race. I can't wait for it to start. And thank you, Stefan Rattel, for setting this up.
Stefan, when you take in I know you pop around the world and see different events. I saw you at Kyalami. We'll see you at Spa, but you're here in Austin, Texas at the Circuit of the Americas. What's this weekend been like for you?
Well, it's important. You know, the American part of the Fanatec GT World Challenge forward by AWS is very important for us. It's been growing and growing. Now we have a fabulous GT4 grid, and GT3 is growing steadily but surely. So slowly but surely we're getting there.
Thank you, guys.
Great to have Stefan on site. A lot of folks coming over from Europe to take in the action here this weekend, and CrowdStrike, a big part of that, of course, was announced last year. CrowdStrike sponsoring the 24 Hours of Spa this year, and Mr. CrowdStrike himself will be in that car a little bit later on. George Kurtz and Colin Brown are putting together a very strong season in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, really strong here this weekend. And unfortunately, we saw during those highlights where Colin got spun around and dropped them to a top 5 versus vying for a win here yesterday. But he starts from the pole alongside a former teammate in Ryan Dial. So it'll be interesting to see how those two coexist on that big run up the hill into turn 1. Always tough to coexist through there and survive. It really funnels down. You sometimes have 3-4 wide trying to meet at the apex and not get into each other.
And Dial will be starting that Triarsi Competizione Ferrari 296 GT3. It's already been a big day for Ferrari. Fricadelli Racing won the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring earlier today. First non-German GT3 manufacturer to win overall in recent memory. And that Triarsi team based out of Florida, they'd love to keep that mojo going. Unfortunately, though, they are the lone Ferrari on the starting grid. We lost the Conquest car after that big crash we saw in the highlights.
Yeah, so unfortunate. The elbows were out there for a little while yesterday between Manny Franco and Chandler Hull, and it just went wrong. I mean, it wasn't an egregious move by Chandler Hull, but because of that, he's going to suffer a penalty. They had a time added to their race result yesterday, even though they didn't finish. And Bill Auber and his co-driver left to start the race from pit lane aboard that number 94 BMW M4.
Puts them behind the 8 ball, but the Bimmer World team did a phenomenal job to make repairs to that car. Racing mechanics never cease to amaze me, Calvin. They can take what looks like automotive detritus and turn it into a race car overnight. It's amazing.
Yeah, you give them a little time and they'll fulfill miracles. But here we're on board with John Edwards. They didn't have the best of days yesterday, so they're looking to rebound a little bit.
Samantha had good pace, though, and that bodes well for the second stint in this race when the AMs jump aboard the Pro-Am class cars. It's interesting. Front row here today, a pair of Pro-Am cars. The first Pro class car is Stephen McAleer in third, and as good of a season as they have had at RS1, that is easily the best qualifying effort that Stephen McAleer has had all season long. Back down to the pits in Amanda.
Well, you talk about the art that mechanics can work. This car was worked on until 4 o'clock in the morning. I was just talking to Chandler Hull, and he said that we touched almost every part of this car, even taking out the gearbox, which is a very long process. Chandler, to himself, battling some issues with his right hand, said he doesn't have much feeling in his right thumb, but said, I don't need it for this race, so let's get after it.
You know, he's already raced 2 times since that crash, a pair of Pirelli GT4 America races, and showed good pace there. Sometimes that pain goes away a little bit when you're behind the wheel.
It does. The adrenaline kicks in. And for Bill Auber, he's starting from pit lane, but if there's a schmozzle up in turn 1, he's going to avoid that and be able to creep through there. So he'll be up on the attack. He'll be up on the wheel. They probably need a reset with a full course yellow to really be in the mix for a podium run here today.
If you're new to Fanatec GT World Challenge America powered by AWS, it's a pair of 90-minute sprint races effectively on these weekends. There is a pit stop in the middle, mandatory pit stop window, 10 minutes right around the center point in the race. You must do your driver change there. Full service pit stop as well with new Pirelli P0s and VP fuel into these race cars. And by regulation here in race number 2, it is the pros in the Pro-Am cars that start the race. The AMs must finish and that's been fun this year.
It is, and it's a tight field here. The top 10 on the grid was separated by less than half a second here yesterday in qualifying. That's how quick this top 10 is in this field this weekend.
Great mix of cars. We've got on the front row Mercedes and Ferrari. We got plenty of Porsches in the field as well. Great mixture of cars, and we're about to get going. Field in 2x2 alignment, 16 cars deep. The Toyota GR Supra safety car has pulled into the pit lane. The Rover Pole Award winner, Colin Brown, in control of this field. Colin advancing into the VP acceleration zone. There you see Matthew Sporey, CrowdStrike guest here this weekend, about to wave the green flag to get the race started. There it goes, and we are racing. Great jump from Brown. The fight is on for 4th and 5th. Morad and Skier back-to-back. Side by side they go into turn number 1. Brown able to control the lead from the pole. Dial, though, now coming under assault from McAleer.
Yeah, Skier there really had a big jump down to the inside, couldn't make it stick, but a really great first corner. Look side by side there with McAleer and Dial for P2.
Couple of Scotsmen leaning on each other, entering the S's. It's Dial who comes out ahead. McAleer now on the back foot, defending from Daniel Morad. Further back, this is Jan Halen in the Porsche, defending from John Edwards in the BMW, and the BMW man gets the spot.
That was a great move, a bold move, and he made it stick there. He's very determined there, and Jan Halen typically doesn't give up much. He had to give it up that time.
Pumpelly and Lewis, two veterans of the GT racing scene in North America. They were going side by side, still are in fact, for 10th and 11th. Oh, that was very close between Haseklo and Sellers. Mercedes and Aston Martin in the midfield. Battle, though, is for 3rd, 4th, and 5th with McAleer, Morad, and Elliott Skier is right there too.
He's got a big drop there with those two cars in front of him, breaking the air. Skier gets to the inside, gets around McAleer. That's the older generation Porsche over the new generation. Has a little less downforce, a little less drag down these straightaways.
He's not shy about coming forward, is he, Elliott Skier? Ruffled a few feathers yesterday, but got the result. He just picked up a couple more spots and now runs 3rd overall. Side by side here to the inside, it's McAleer. Now Morad crosses him over.
That was beautifully judged. Beautiful job there by Morad. And look at Mario Farnbacher, Super Mario, looking for an opportunity here. McAleer to his inside as they hit turn 16.
It's not been the best of weekends for Racer's Edge, but now flexing a little more muscle than we've seen from them to this point in the weekend. Mario Farnbacher, he's on the front foot now.
Watch Farnbacher here. Does he dive it to the inside in turn 20? He's looking, he's got the run to the inside. McAleer, the championship leader, is going backwards on this opening lap. There's Brian Sellers to the inside. There's a touch.
That might have been contact with the wheel as well. That's going to be something to watch. Difficult first lap there from McAleer. He plummets from 3rd on the grid all the way down to 6th, and he's forced to go defensive big time up the hill to turn 1.
What a first lap by John Edwards from 14th on the grid in that ST Racing BMW, the light blue car coming down the hill right now.
Oh, just a phenomenal start from John, and he's not done yet. Gets up alongside the Porsche. It looks like he might get that spot. In the meantime, a drive-through penalty issue to this S's Racing Mercedes.
And the 33 car, Ryan Dial, who's running in P2 right now.
Improper start procedures. That's the call from race control, and that means the second car in line, this Ferrari, has to serve a drive-through penalty.
Wow. What a devastating blow to their chances here this afternoon. They've had a fast car. Dial was just a pip off the pole here yesterday. And then with a shout of victory, this is going to hurt big time.
Yeah, Ryan's going to be hot under the collar when he gets word about that penalty.
Have a look at the start and see how these penalties may occurred. See if he crosses columns immediately. You've got to wait till the stripe there before you switch lanes. And he did that to try and protect. Start-finish line is a long way down there as you're waiting for the green to drop.
Cut and dry call, though, for race control. We'll see when Dial elects to serve this penalty. Just the second lap, already a lot of drama here. Race 2 of the weekend in Austin, Texas.
Colin Brown needs that information as well. The team needs to feed that to him so he doesn't fight too hard with Ryan Dial. Dial will be questioning it, but he knows he's got to serve it as soon as possible to give them a chance to get back in the mix. You don't want to suddenly be staying out there and suddenly there's a yellow that could have given you a little bit of a reset.
Colin, a Texan by birth, now calls North Carolina home, keeping Ryan Dial, who is a Scotsman by birth, now living in Florida. right in his tire tracks. Dial not yet serving that penalty.
No, and he's going to have a couple more laps to serve that, so he's got to be careful, otherwise they'll stop scoring him and they'll just keep losing laps.
You called it, Calvin. Remarkable start from this car. Samantha Tan, you can see the smile on her face. This bodes well because, again, yesterday, relative to the other AMs, Samantha was running very, very well, and John Edwards to go up 7 positions already in this race. This is a car on the move.
Yeah, they qualified 14th. They gained a spot with the 21 car, unable to see the green flag this afternoon, but nonetheless, just a monster first lap. That move he put on Jan Halen through the S's was incredible.
On board now with John. Let's see just how busy this section is, watching his hands on the wheel.
Yeah, the key for that BMW is keeping the tires underneath it here, so he's got good outright pace right now. Can he maintain that consistency over the long, probably close to a 50-minute run for John behind the wheel here this afternoon?
Surprising to see McAleer struggle the way he did at the start.
It is. I mean, that's the first time we're really seeing him at the sharp end of the grid after qualifying. They've been dominating race ones off the back. Eric Filgueira starting from the pole for 3 consecutive weekends and turning those into victories. But he even admitted himself, I got to straighten up this qualifying. He did that well, but now he's been on the back foot here a little bit, just trying to get back into his rhythm.
Into the stadium section once again. There is George Kurtz watching on. Heard from him at the start of the show. He and Colin Brown, they've been working together for many years. In fact, Colin was coaching George long before they ever drove together.
Just got great chemistry, great trust. Right now, they're trying to get back into the championship lead. They had it coming in, had a rough day yesterday in the 120 machine of Skia and Adelson winning, scoring maximum points. That leapfrogged them around the 0-4 overnight, so they're trying to readdress that situation here today.
Up to 5th place. Mario Farnbacher for Racer's Edge. Dial again does not come in to serve the penalty, and he's looking like he wants to go for the lead. He pulls to the inside of Brown, and to your point, Calvin, I think Brown was made aware of that situation with the penalty. He did not fight too hard.
He did not. He'd have been a little bit more aggressive there and trying to hold on to that lead if he did not know that Ryan Dial has to serve that penalty. So there's 2 ways of looking at that. If you come in, if there's a yellow, you think, oh, we should have come in early, then we'd be back with the pack again. But if it stays green, maybe they're just trying to really utilize Ryan's pace and clean air on the front of that car right now to gap the rest of the field as much as possible before serving.
5th car in line, but the leader in the pro class, Mario Farnbacher.
This is the team that's really, in terms of damage limitation, they didn't feel this car was well suited to the COTA circuit. They had a strong result here yesterday, finishing 2nd in the pro class, and right now they lead.
Looked like Skier just made a big move. We saw that from
Brown
Mario's perspective.
He must have an issue.
He might. Does not appear to have the pace he was showing early in the going. Skier is through. Morad is through. And up next will be Super Mario himself.
Something is amiss with that 0-4 CrowdStrike entry right now. He is dropping like a stone. Acceleration off of that corner. We're looking at Colin Brown right in front of Mario Farnbacher that we're riding on board with. He's got a tire going down. Looks like he can't carve the corner very efficiently. Right in front of him is gapping him pretty easily, and then he's struggling to get it back to power there off the turn 15. Something is amiss. Does he hang out there? Has he got an electrical issue that he hopes is going to go away? He might not have full acceleration off some of the low-speed corners.
Farnbacher was able to get by, and yes, as you expected, Colin Brown comes to pit lane. This is the team that entered the weekend as the Pro-Am Championship leader, and ahead of him, you could see it, Ryan Dial serving that drive-through penalty for the improper start procedure. That face speaks volumes, doesn't it, on George Kurtz? He wonders, as we do, what might the problem be?
Now put Skier back out front, just like we saw at the end of the race here yesterday. Justin Witherell looks on as Ryan Dial has to serve that penalty. He'll be bitterly disappointed. Had a lot of confidence coming into this weekend. He knows the circuit well. He struggled for confidence over the last half a season, I'd call it. Justin has, with a couple of incidents, as now the CrowdStrike by Riley team go to work. Something amiss with that engine. seemed like he wasn't accelerating off that low-speed corner very effectively. Amanda?
What the team is going to look for here is going to be an electrical issue, what they were having on track. George Kurtz looking on a fire we have down here on pit lane right now as that gets put out. Some issues here for the 04 Mercedes as they try to figure out what's happening under the hood.
Yeah, that's unburnt fuel, and if the engine isn't running correctly, it's probably just a lot of fuel in the chamber there. That's not a big drama, but rough weekend for a car that's shown so much promise and speed.
So many of the early front runners have already had issues, and that has promoted, as you said, Skier to the lead. One overall yesterday did that Wright Motorsports Porsche. Daniel Morad, as he has done all season long, starring in his stint behind the wheel for this TR3 team, still getting used to the idea of this very Italian team running a German car. They ran Ferraris forever, a couple years with Lamborghini as well. But this year, making the switch to Mercedes, and Daniel Morad, as a consequence, ends up in that race car. He's a Mercedes-affiliated driver, and he has driven that car well all year long.
Yeah, fastest lap here yesterday when they're trying to recover a little bit and drive back through the pack, so he had confidence coming into today's race. But Skier right now has the clean air on the nose of that Porsche. Has got pretty good straightaway speed as well. As we talk about the older generation Porsche, doesn't have the downforce and maybe the braking ability of the newer generation, but got a little bit more top speed to work with on these long straightaways here.
I have to admit, the storyline has evolved so much over the course of this weekend. The Porsche camp was not terribly bullish on their chances coming in, but they've had good pace in the races, and right now it's a Porsche that's showing the way. Riding on board with Mario Farnbacher here, the leader in the pro class. Third overall, and starting to make some hay here relative to the top two. They're certainly not disappearing out the windshield.
Now the pace at the front has stabilized a little bit, allowing Mario to sort of like maintain pace with them. So he doesn't have the outright speed that the front two runners have shown so far in this race, but spoke to him yesterday, said this is just not a great fit for this race car. We struggle a little bit really clattering the curbs down through the S's. That compromises our lap time a little bit, but this is a team that just has to keep digging, led by John Meraki. He's kept that both their drivers on a high here when their heads were low a little bit at times this weekend.
It does seem a bit surprising, though, because a few years ago, do you remember Trent Hidman and Shelby Blackstock? They were so strong here for that team in that platform. They've had some other Martin Barkey and Kyle Marcelli have been quick here in the past.
I think the level is so high now, though.
Yeah.
I think everyone's raised their game. There's newer generation cars that they're running against, Evo kits and the new Ferrari and everything. So I think the ante's been upped.
I want to check on just how much that penalty cost Ryan Dial. He has dropped down to 14th. This is the Riley Motorsports crew pushing that Mercedes back towards the direction of the entrance to the paddock area, and it might be day over. Keep in mind, you must complete at least 50% of the overall leader's laps at the end of the race in order to score points. And also, with as deep as the Pro-Am field is, I'm not sure points are in the offing even if they were to exact those repairs.
You never know. You just have to do all you can. They'll get the car back there if they can get it fixed, get it back out there. Just if suddenly there's an incident and a couple of cars go by the wayside, you can suddenly gain a couple of valuable points. Doesn't mean much on the day, but at the end of the season, they can really be a game changer in terms of your championship position.
TRG Racing reunited with Aston Martin. We see Frenchman Valentin Hassan-Clos piloting that car. Most people probably think of TRG and Porsche over the years, but they did run some Aston programs in the past. Right now doing very, very well. We'll keep an eye on this battle, but first, or while we do so, I should say, let's hear if we can get more on the Riley situation from Amanda.
Yeah, I heard a little more about what Colin Brown was experiencing out on track. He said it was a lot of engine vibration. The team talking here, Bill Riley talking with George Kurtz. They are done for the day. It's strange being down here on pit lane. You can actually still smell kind of what was happening underneath the hood of that Mercedes. But unfortunately, day over for George Kurtz.
Oh, that's rough. That's really rough for a team that had so much promise here this weekend. I think Colin could have easily won the race here yesterday. Not easily, but had a chance of victory here yesterday before the bump when there's that big sandwich up in turn 1, and from the pole obviously leading comfortably. DL was keeping his attention, but DL had that penalty to serve, so he's looking to be in great shape. This is a great little battle here between VHC, as we call him, and Brian Sellers. The XDT definitely on the rebound a little bit, struggled for a year or more with the pace of those Mercedes, but had a very strong NOLA. And it looked pretty racy here this weekend as well.
And at the very front, it's Skier who leads Morad with an hour and 15 minutes to go. Up the hill come the overall leaders. It's Elliott Skier showing the way. Daniel Morad has been stalking that Porsche for the better part of 15 minutes. Then we drop back to the man who's been on the move. John Edwards in 4th, McAleer in 5th, Sellers, Hasseklo, and Jan Halen. That is the top 8 as they run. Hasseklo coming under some pressure here from Jan Halen, Cal.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the biggest surprise. Following free practices, I thought the 45 Wright Motorsports car of Jan Halen and Charlie Luck would be in the mix this weekend. Didn't quite come together in qualifying for them, and the kind of mid-pack here, obviously the sister car leads, but as I've said before today, it's the older generation Porsche. And talking to Jan Halen yesterday morning on the way into the circuit, he just said, you know, the car's good, we're learning it, but you know, it's got a lot of downforce, and we're just losing several kilometers per hour down the straightaways, and that is critical to your lap time.
Mario Farnbacher, the last few laps, just down a couple tenths of a second relative to Skier and Morad, running a lonely 3rd at the moment. He's been quicker than Edwards over the past few laps, and now holds a 2.5-second advantage over 4th place. This,
they're keying off the 28 machine, though. That's the battle that they're in terms of the pro classes. Look at this little battle here. Jan Halen down to the inside on Brian Sellers as VHC gets around the both. That was a little touch, maybe. That was awfully close there through the apex.
Yeah, Hasseklo through on Sellers for 6th overall. That would be for 4th in class. And now Sellers still under unrelenting pressure, but now it's Jan Halen applying that pressure.
Couple of cars back sits the sister DXDT racing machine of Corey Lewis here in that car with Jeff Burton. Sellers and Lewis know each other very well. They've done a lot of major endurance events over the years with a lot of success here in the same car. Now they're teammates, albeit in the sister cars under that tent.
Sellers still keeping up with Hasseklo, at least through that last section. That Aston looks pretty stout, though, down the pit straight, across the finish line and up the hill. Beautiful blue Aston Martin, not quite the traditional TRG colors, but Derek DeBoer, who co-drives with VHC, said it took a little convincing, but we got Kevin Buckler, the team owner, on board with the change in blue.
Great group. Derek DeBoer has been working with TRG for 10 years now, and they continue to work hard for all of their partners that they have on board. Great to see them back in GT3 racing. Derek doesn't have a ton of experience. He did a 24-hour race about 6-7 years ago. And other than that, he's been really predominantly in GT4 competition over the last handful of seasons.
Just behind this trio, you mentioned Corey Lewis a few moments ago, protege of the Andretti racing family. Halen taking a peek up the inside there. Got a bit of that
parked
curve.
A little bit. It's going to give Lewis a little bit of a run. I'm not sure he's close enough to take advantage of it.
Corey hails from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, which became the home of the Andretti family when they emigrated from what was then the Kingdom of Italy. Now where they were from actually is part of Croatia. That's really neither here nor there, frankly.
He's good friends with the Andrettis.
Yeah, exactly. They helped him out early in his career quite a bit. And kind of went the single-seater route for a bit. Ended up going the 10-top route and had a great career with Lamborghini, winning a lot in Lamborghini single-make racing, did Corey Lewis.
Yeah, Halen is working over Brian Sellers big time.
Jan as aggressive as they come. If there's 3/4 of a car width gap, he'll go for it.
He's also smart enough when he got into that little side-by-side action with John Edwards on the opening lap. He knew he had to give it up, otherwise it's going to end up in tears for both of them.
His little career renaissance has been fun to watch over the past few seasons. He's had decent rides here and there, but found a home with Wright Motorsports. Has run multiple GT3 championships. He's done some GT4 racing for them. Won many championships and races in the last handful of years.
Won the very prestigious Porsche Cup a couple of seasons ago. That's points that are awarded globally to all of the privateer entrants, and Jan came on top. And I think with that, you end up with a nice new 911 in your garage.
That's exactly right. Coming through the shot there just a moment ago, we saw Bill Auberlen. That was the BMW that was repaired overnight, had to start from the pit lane. Razzle-dazzle, Ryan Dial. Well, he's driving with the red mist right now, and it's helping him go fast. He has the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race, still trying to recover from that penalty at the very start.
He'll be kicking himself because those rules are now consistent with both major championships here in North America. It's not something that has been dealt to him as a curveball here this weekend, but you just get in that race mode and you're just trying to defend. He may have not got best start, seeing looking in his rear view camera and seeing cars making a move and trying to defend, but you have to wait for the stripe.
Love the look of this Ferrari 296 GT3, the new GT offering from Maranello, V6 twin turbo, just debuted this year.
Ski is so impressive here out front. Sorry, Ryan.
All good. And you're right, he has been. Ian Adelson, quite the pairing. Won some races, nearly won a title with Bruntley GT4 America last year, and have hit the ground running in their first GT3 campaign together.
It's a fun sequence of corners there. Come out of 18 into 19. Just enough room to transition back across. Reminds me of Indianapolis corner at Le Mans. Just the flow and rhythm to that.
There is Adam Adelson on the headset, left-hand side of the screen, watching his best friend and co-driver, also driver coach, Elliott Skier.
Still got the Tash.
I found out this morning that Adam Adelson, the first race he ever won, it was in a single-meg Porsche Cayman series here at Circuit of the Americas several years ago. And that weekend, he decided to grow out a mustache, and he won the race. That's why he still has one. Superstition is a real thing in racing. Did you have any superstitions when you were driving?
No, I really didn't, thank goodness, because that would have driven me insane if suddenly you didn't put on the right pair of socks in the morning.
On board with Daniel Morad, and let's hear more about this TR3 car now with Amanda.
Yeah, that Mercedes just exited the S's just a little bit ago, and Daniel Morad and Ziad Gondor, they don't get to do much testing because Ziad is pretty busy in his business, but Daniel said the last time he was here was in 2019, and since then he's found with some curbing changes over the year that those S's are mega fast, especially in this Mercedes. And guys, we've talked about it all weekend along with our broadcast. We're also airing live on Twitch, and Daniel just wanted me to make sure that his fans know that he's really sorry that he hasn't been active on Twitch lately, that he still loves you. He had some words for us this weekend, but he's been so busy he hasn't even been able to relay those to us yet. So well done, Daniel.
Busy guy right now behind the wheel, and he is running right in the tire tracks of Skier. Those two are matching one another 10th for 10th basically over the last couple of laps. It's been a great duel though here in the opening 24 minutes of this race.
Mercedes is hanging tough here. It looks to be carving the corners a little bit more efficiently. Had a really great run through turns 16, 17, 18. It's a slightly different line to the one that Elliott's incorporating there to attack that corner. It seems to be working out and gaining a little bit. Here's Mario Farnbacher. Equal laps to the leader, Skier. Morad took a couple of tenths out of that lead as we saw that gap close over that last lap.
Edwards, McAleer, Hasse-Klo, who was warned for blocking a few laps ago. Sellers, Halen, Lewis, Pompelli, and Estep was the last car you saw come through. This is the recovering Bimmer World car. Bill Auberlen driving, and the fight is on for the race lead.
Yeah, I think Morad is feeling it. His car's really come alive. Maybe Skier's gone in the other direction a little bit, but this is a sweet period of this race for Daniel Morad. He needs to try and take advantage of it. He'd love to get in front of Skier here and create a little bit of a gap for his teammate Ziad Gando to work with for the second phase of this race today.
Top 2 overall, the top 2 in the Pro-Am class, with the less experienced drivers in their lineup set to get in at the pit stop. They are likely to have a considerable amount of driving still in their stints here, Skier and Morad.
Skier just pulls him by about a car length there as Ziad Gandor looks on at the progress of his young teammate.
This is where the Mercedes starts to close in. It's so good through these twisty sections, carves the corners well, as you like to say.
Yeah, and you can see that just putting the power down. The rear end is not moving around on him. I know they got a fair ways to go in this stint yet, but this is where he looked really good, just whistling through this high-speed sweeper right here. Tucks it in a little bit tighter, as you can see, than Elliott Skier does, particularly in that second phase. It seems to be working well.
No excess motion with his hands. Very smooth. The car looks stable. It looks planted. A platform he could fight with. Coming out of the final turn, Skier continuing to lead Morad by half a second. The battle for the lead roars up the hill to turn number 1. Wright Motorsports, TR3 Racing, 2 long-standing teams in this championship. They've sparred before, they will again, and right now they are the focal point of the action at Circuit of the Americas, race 2 of the weekend.
See the sparks there from the skid blocks on the side of the race cars as they really start to load up, coming through the corners. Look at Morad there. He talked about how he can really attack these curbs, relating that to Amanda earlier this weekend, and he's proven that right there.
Took a later entry to that section of the S's than Skier did. You can see the sparks flying from underneath, those skid plates there to absorb that contact to make sure no damage is done to the bottom of the car. Makes for some spectacular shots, especially at night.
Car looks so good, power down off these corners, not moving around at all at this stage of the stint.
Farnbacher doing what he needs to do. Front 2, he really doesn't need to concern himself with. They're not in the same class. He leads in silver, sorry, in pro.
He's got about a 4.5 second lead over Stephen Mackler, who runs 5th overall and 2nd in pro right now.
Mackler, though, to his credit, is stabilized. He really was dropping like a rock early in this race and has settled into a nice groove. He's held 5th for 20-25 minutes.
Andy Pilgrim aboard the Bartone Brothers Racing machine. Anthony Bartone has certainly been a bit of a revelation this season in terms of his raw pace, learning a lot from Andy, and there may be some news coming in short order on what this team may do for the rest of the season. But certainly been great to see this new entry, real-time back, not with Acuras, which is a big change,
yes.
Campaigning this Mercedes.
So much experience behind the wheel of that car right now with Andy Pilgrim, native of Nottingham, England, but has lived in the States now for quite some time, for a long time, in Bowling Green, Kentucky, right next door to the Corvette Museum. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No.
I think they built it in his backyard.
Well, Andy did drive for the GM brand for over 20 years as a factory driver, so he's got great history with that brand, certainly. Wipers on, is that just arms and elbows and hit the wrong switch or something? But I'm not sure we've got any precipitation out on the racetrack.
There was the chance, though, that it could come. It's been intermittent throughout the day so far today. Has had its share of impact, has Mother Nature, on several races. Riding on board with Edwards.
This has a lot of experience with this relatively new M4, debuted last year. Real class act. John is BMW factory pilot for a number of years now. Got the opportunity when Joey Hand went over to compete in DTM, so he's kind of subbing for him for the first year or so, then got the full season ride.
And that does say he's feeling some sprinkles down there in the pits. Not enough to make an impact yet, but a lot of eyes will be on the skies, or maybe more apropos these days on whatever weather app you particularly favor.
It's a dangerous thing to do. If you've got any oil or anything on that windshield, you think, oh, there's a few sprinkles, I'll clean it off, and suddenly it just smudges all of that stuff. And you think, oh boy, I wish I hadn't done that.
Can't be dealt with until the pit stop, which is looming, about 10 minutes away from the pit window opening.
To suspect that a lot of these pros will stay in the car deep into that 10-minute window.
And even in the pro class, one bit of regulation that is different here stateside than it is in other GT World Challenge series around the world. The pro class here mandates an FIA silver graded driver to be in the lineup alongside either, well, I guess it could be anything, but you would expect either a gold or a platinum. And it is the gold or platinum driver that started the race in every pro car here today. So the pace delta between the pros and the AMs in the second stint. What we see this year, it's there, but it's not huge.
No, there's some really quality drivers. You think about young Eric Fulgaris, the job he's done this year, and getting this opportunity to compete at this level, getting GT3 cars underneath him for the very first time. He stepped up to that challenge, has put the car on pole 3 consecutive weekends. He and his teammate have driven it to victory lane. Different scenario here. He may have to go chase down Ashton Harrison for that pro win if the positions stay as they are right now and everyone does an equal pit stop, so the 93 car has the edge in track position.
And those two have a little recent history too.
They do. Just at the last race, Eric tried to make a move on Ashton and ruined her day, and ultimately got a post-race penalty that cost him a position or two, I think it was. So that was probably a lesson learned, just a little too aggressive there at a certain part of the racetrack, put his nose where it shouldn't have been and turned around, and really ruined what a promising weekend for Racer's Edge. Mauri had an off in the other race that weekend, and then Ashton got tipped into the sand as well.
While we're watching this ST racing car, did want to give them a shout because we've been talking about the fact that the Bibber World car had to be repaired. The crew was here until 4 a.m. making those repairs after the big crash yesterday. ST Racing lent a big hand, helped with some parts, helped them put that car back together, and that's one of the amazing things about this sport. Competitors on the track, but they'll do everything they can to help one another off the track.
Yeah, and that favor will be returned. There'll be another day when the other team is having issues and needs a helping hand, so that's the way it should work. Get to the end of the season, if they're fighting for a championship, maybe you can't suddenly find that spare part that they're looking for on the truck. I thought we had it, but for some reason I can't find it right now.
Taking a look here, Pompelli in the first of those two Porsches, chased by the Texan Trenton Estep, who now calls Ohio home. Moved there to be closer to the SimDK Motorsports team that's based just outside of Columbus. And here's the recovering Ryan Dial. He has caught the back of the pack, and he is coming quickly, Calvin. He's got about a second a lap in hand.
Yeah, he's been absolutely flying out here. I believe he has the fastest lap of the race at 2:05.3, which is a couple of tenths quicker than the leaders. So there's some red mist there. The car's working well. He saw some great opportunities. Just got a little too antsy there on the drop of the green flag this afternoon and has paid the price for it. But digging deep. Justin Wetherell, his teammate, loves this circuit, had a win and a runner-up finish in Ferrari Challenge here back in 2020.
And Calvin, all they need is a safety car, and they're right back in the mix.
Absolutely.
Ryan Dial, amazing to think it's been 20 years now since he showed up here in the States and started racing in the Atlantic Championship. That Sierra racing team had a couple good seasons there, gave him a shot at IndyCar racing back during the days of the split. He was on the Champ Car side of that. Since then, he's been an exceptional sports car driver. GTs, prototypes, he can wheel all of them.
He really can. He's another one of those drivers that you just want in your squad because he's got leadership and he can direct you down the right path. Not afraid to share his opinion, which I love about him.
Not many can say they have class wins at Le Mans, Daytona, Sebring, and Petit Le Mans on their resume, but Ryan can, including overall wins at Daytona and Petit.
Yeah, he had some monster years. I think that was 2012 where he and the Starworks team just were lights out.
Yep.
Major victories.
Yeah, wins that year in class at Le Mans, at Sebring, and at Petit, all in the same year. That is an outstanding accomplishment.
Speaking of which, this team here on the back of a incredible performance last year. That 28 car won the Pirelli GT4 Championship. 11 victories. Makes the big step up. What do? Straight out the box, win the first race of the championship season, and have done it every single weekend and hoping to sweep this one.
Incredible, isn't it? Right now, though, that RS1 Porsche is coming under some pressure. VHC, Valentin Haseclo. First trip to COTA is this weekend. Had never raced here before. In fact, just about everywhere he goes this year stateside will be a first, except for Indianapolis, where he did race Pirelli GT4 America a couple years ago. Spin for Sellers. Was that by himself, or did he have help? Can he get it refired? That's the other question. He's trying to. See what we can learn.
Here. Looks like he's by himself there. Sure if he just ate too much of the curb on that right-hander prior.
Be right.
That's a rare occurrence to see Brian Sellers, if he did make a mistake and wasn't helped around.
But back to Haseclo, I had a fun chat with him earlier this weekend, and he told me the thing he likes about coming to the U.S. is nobody knows him over here. He said it's a brand new book. I can write new chapters. I'm a brand new VHC, and he's really embracing this VHC nickname. By the way, he does.
Good. Makes it easier on us.
It does indeed. And a big smile when I asked him about it on Friday afternoon.
Edwards here, looks like his pace has been tempered somewhat. If you think about how he took off like a scalded cat and gapped Halen. You can see Halen now in the same picture as McAleer is trying to think about a way by here. He'd love to minimize that gap between he and Mario Farnbacher, who continues to lead in pro. Just one car ahead of John Edwards that he's chasing right now.
That's right. Edwards not in the same class as McAleer in the Porsche. It's the buffer that Farnbacher currently holds. Ooh, Halen, he thought about it. Fantastic battle here in the mid-pack right now. This is 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, all in a line coming through the S's at Circuit of the Americas.
Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, is brought to you by CrowdStrike, AWS, and Fanatec.
Overall leaders continue to be Elliott Skier and Daniel Morad. The gap has remained constant between about a half a second and 8 or 9 tenths of a second at the most. Morad closed in a few laps ago, Calvin. Looked like he might be taking a peek, making an attempt to take the lead away, but since he settled back in line,
they're so evenly matched on lap times, but Ski just has that little advantage down the long straightaways here, which prevents Morad from really having a definitive go at snatching the lead away here.
We are about a lap away, I would suspect, from the pit window opening for at least some of the teams. I think probably just about everybody would have a shot at it the next time by, but don't think we'll see too many early pit callers.
You wouldn't think so, unless you're on the back foot a little bit and you just roll the dice hoping for an incident and a full course yellow during that period where the leaders may be slowed and you've already made your pit stop. But if you have track position, I would think you'd want to utilize and leverage these pros' pace here as far into this race as you can.
Coming by to complete the 18th lap. Just over 38 minutes gone by. Race 2 here at Circuit of the Americas. Skier, Morad, Farnbacher, that's the top 3. Then you get back to this gaggle. Edwards and McAleer and VHC, with Jan Halen at the tail of this train, but doing everything in his power to get by this beautiful blue Aston.
Yeah, it seems like as we get deeper into the run, that Wright Motorsport Porsche is gaining strength in comparison to the cars that it's around right now.
Let's hear more about the RS1 Porsche with Amanda.
Yeah, I spoke to Eric to kick off the weekend about that connection that he had with Ashton Harrison in NOLA, and he said that he wanted to talk to her in person about that. Didn't give her a call after the race, wanted to do it face-to-face, and understood the mishap that they had on track, but said, hey, we are two drivers that really want these checkered flags out here. I was sitting by Ashton Harrison just now. She's already suited, has her helmet on, and said, has anyone looked at the radar? So weather is on the mind of the drivers as sprinkles still fall here in pit lane.
That threat continues, that threat of rain, certainly throughout the rest of this race. We see Brian Diao here, though, Calvin, closing in on the MDK Porsche.
Great recovery drive here. It's a long way back. You burn almost 35 seconds on pit lane by making a stop under green flag conditions compared to the rest of the field. So it's a big hit to take, but Ryan's dug deep and done a really good job here.
Pretty circumspect driving there, I think, from Estep, knowing this is not for class position. Pro-Am on Pro, with the Pro-Am car going through there. Estep just trying to keep that car in contention. Seth Lucas, his co-driver, he's young, he's light on experience, but he's quick. And who knows what can happen in the second half of the race as the pit window opens. And at least out of the front runners, no one elects to come in just yet.
See Edwards there just trying to keep it nice and neat and tidy and not slide the rear end of that BMW right now. I'm sure he's feeling the grip going away from him a little bit, but he's trying to just maintain the balance. Drive it to the threshold of the grip that you have right now. Don't overdrive it. That'll just heat those tires up a little bit more. Having said that, the drop-off here at COTA has been minimal in terms of tire degradation. Seeing lap time still within about a second of the driver's best lap so far deep into this race.
It's another reason why I don't think too many people will gamble on that undercut. There's just not that pace delta from new tires to old tires like we saw at NOLA, for instance.
Yeah, I think the only gamble would be worth taking is if you're a little bit deeper in the pack, as we said before, don't have the track position, just a Hail Mary, really,
right.
Just hoping for something to happen, some incident.
Daniel Morad closing back in on Elliott Skier.
That Porsche gets a little bit smaller from that view, doesn't it? Just inching away. Frustrating, but that's the nature of balance of performance. You're not going to have cars that are equal down the straightaway, equal in the brake zones, equal through the corners.
M-Class car, the lone one in the field, they elect to come in. Bartone Brothers Racing with real-time racing, and this is smart for a couple of reasons. This maximizes the driving time for the rookie, Anthony Bartone, who is still learning. He's been fast and needs all the seat time he can get.
That gives Pilgrim the old boy a rest, too.
Just a few moments ago, well, McAleer had dropped back behind Hasse Klo, and then we see Halen come through, too. So something has not gone according to plan on this lap for the RS1 squad.
Yeah, definitely backpedaling a little bit here. Maybe that'll force the issue for them to bring him in if he has lost the balance in the race car. And that's just going to make Aaron Filgueras' task a little bit more difficult to chase down the race's edge. And here comes McAleer, I think.
Been a small pit fire there. That looked like fire extinguishant
The 28
there.
dive, I thought he did.
It did, yeah. Well, if you're going to have a small puncture or something like that, this is the time to do it. You can have your full service pit stop. Not sure that's what the problem is, but they do elect to come in. McAleer will give way to Filgueras, but is there something greater amiss with the race car? He dropped off the pace on that last lap.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys got roughed up a little bit and was struggling to get back into rhythm. May have got offline with that and then had some pickup on the tires. Just playing it safe, saying something's amiss. Sometimes you get that pickup and you almost feel like you've got a puncture. You do run offline.
46 minutes to go here in this race. We're into that pit window, expecting the leaders into the pit lane in the next couple of laps.
Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, is brought to you by Acura, BMW M, and Ferrari.
Change in position at the front of the field. Daniel Morad has gotten around Elliott Skier, not just for the overall lead, but the lead in the Pro-Am class, and it happens as deep into the stint as you can go, or just about. Daniel Morad had been working Elliott Skier over for a number of laps, Calvin, and he finally found a way through.
He does, and when you see him carve that corner right there, you can see he immediately gains another half a car length on Elliott Skier. So great job by Daniel Morad. Amazing stint, had the fastest lap here yesterday. Now he's going to wring the neck and use those tires up with a few laps remaining before he has to hit pit lane.
I think you can do two if you want to risk it. Let's take a look and see how the lead changed hands. Daniel Morad, the Canadian, Elliott Skier, the American, down the back straightaway. Well, this is cut and paste, perfect stuff from Morad.
Yeah, that's bizarre because it always looked like Skier had the advantage down the straightaway. So unless he had a big moment exiting turn 11 and gave Morad the run, don't see any other reason. There's no real strategy around Skier just letting him go like this. Both running in the same class as you said. Here comes Dial.
Works his way around Anthony Bartone. It's a car that has pitted already. Dial doing a nice job to salvage something after that penalty at the start of the race for start infringement.
He's been absolutely flying here. I mean, I think he's made up about 10 seconds on the leaders.
This team's got to be thinking, what do we have to do to buy a break? They just have not had results this season. They've shown pace. Dial in particular has wrapped his head around this Ferrari pretty quickly.
They got some great personnel there, a ton of experience, so it was only a matter of time.
Oh, Halen. Edwards and Halen, little contact there. Saw a piece of carbon fiber come off of the Porsche, I believe.
Yeah, Halen's just been marching forward through the latter stages of this opening stint here today.
Interesting that one Porsche is coming back, actually a couple of them with McAleer and Skier, but Halen getting stronger as the stint goes along.
Well, he spoke to us about maybe trimming the car out a little bit, but the problem with that is that you then start to have tire deck issues. If they kept the downforce in the car, maybe that's why his speed was a little bit limited in the early phases of the race, but then it comes back to you in terms of the tires staying underneath you the deeper you get into the run.
Doesn't look like the dive planes were damaged on the nose of the car, so that's good news after that light contact.
Edwards has been pretty stoic in his defense. He's making a firm stance here and just trying to hang on here. His car was the other way around, right? It came alive early and then has faded a little bit at the end. Halen struggled to come up to speed and is now really strong at the end. So that's kind of the reverse effect between these two cars over this opening 45-50 minutes of this race.
As expected, all the Pro-Am cars are maximizing this stint length for their pros. Racer's Edge, though, going ahead to make the change. Farnbacher out, Harrison climbing aboard the Acura NSX.
They may be reacting to the 28 having hit pit lane. If there was a yellow, that team would get a huge advantage.
Yep, that covers them strategically. Great crew, based in Florida. Team on the rise, though. It's a partnership with the Wayne Taylor Racing Andretti Autosport operation now as well.
Pretty lively there, leaping over those curbs there through the S's. Mercedes just seems to do everything very, very well. Maybe not be the strongest down the straightaway, but braking, downforce, compliancy over the bumps, ticks all of those boxes.
Pedro Torres, he's been one of the revelations of the season. Immediately on the pace here this year. Good stint from Spencer Pumpelly, and Pedro now will have his turn for the final 42 minutes.
Pumpelly there yanking on the belts, tightening everything down.
It's not ideal for the top two. They caught Chandler Hall. That's a car that's already pitted. Bill Oberlin started the 94 from pit lane. Penalty stemming from that big crash yesterday forced them to do so.
Looks like Halen was on the defense there a little bit on the Aston Martin. So from attacking Edwards, he suddenly had to look in his rear view camera as well.
Quality of the pro drivers in this field, it's remarkable. Halen right there, a great driver in his own right, sandwiched by a couple of factory drivers. Edwards, a BMW factory man. Haseclo, employed by the Aston factory.
But a little delay there on the S's Racing Mercedes. Home team having a pretty strong weekend. Hardeman had that spin early yesterday after a really strong qualifying run as the leaders hit pit lane.
And they also had a drive-through penalty at the start of this race, same time that Dial did. And here come the leaders. They needed to get this done here. There was not time for one more lap, so in they come. 76 seconds, the minimum time you must spend in pit lane, in to out, including the service. And now the crews do their thing. TR3 up against Wright Motorsports.
See Adam Adelson there just staying out of the way. There's a lot of activity over there on the pit wall side of the car with the refueling, tires being changed, driver change all at the same time.
It is a choreographed ballet, just one air gun, one tire changer by regulation.
Everyone does it a little bit differently, right? Some people go to the right sides first. That would be my take without really analyzing it fully. Like do the right sides of the driving, get in the car, and then switch back to the left driver's side.
TR3 release, still waiting on the Wright Motorsports car. We're waiting, we're waiting. Morad comes through. I think this is the advantage he had built on the track. Seems like a long wait,
for Adelson. He's slow away. I'm not sure if he's just finishing up getting his belts tight, but unless the 9 car released early, that was a slow start for the 120.
Yeah. It's great for Ziad Gondor.
Looked like the servicing was done. It was just like Adelson may have just been had a panic going on inside the cockpit.
Harrison just came through. That puts her 2nd overall now. Had been 3rd, that car, prior to the pit sequence. Great job by the Racers Edge team, and I think that does confirm what we suspected, that there was a hang-up for Adelson leaving the pits.
Yeah, the key for the 93 car is obviously where is the 28 relationship to them. That was the battle for the pro.
Right.
Lead.
Tires hot out of the oven. She's had a lap now to bring them up to operating temperature as well. Watch and listen from on board with Ashton Harrison.
Really nice and smooth. Car's going to be a little bit heavier than when Mario finished off. Not a full fuel load on board, but certainly a heavier race car, but brand new, fresh Pirellis.
Storming down the back straightaway, Ashton Harrison running 2nd overall here at the Circuit of the Americas.
Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, is brought to you by Pirelli, eBoost Super Fuel, and Rova Motor Oil.
Overall leader, Ziad Gondor. Not the first time this has happened this year, that a great opening stint from Daniel Morad has put Ziad in this position. You can see the rapidly closing Ashton Harrison behind him, and Ziad's got his hands full out there on the green paint.
Yeah, got to be careful. It looks a little slick right now. He's struggling for grip, and when you get out there, that is like a skating rink, so he's got to be careful.
There is moisture in the air. That makes that paint all the more treacherous. Harrison closing in. This is not a battle for class position, so Ziad would be wise not to contest this too hotly. However, his closest pursuer in class, Adelson, right there, is also closing in. Here's Samantha Tan looking aggressive. She goes up the inside of Luck, has to park it at the apex, and that lets Derek DeBoer go around.
There's going to be some feisty little battles here through the 2nd phase of this race. Eric Filgueras has a lot of work to do. He's a long way back of the pro leader right now. Just looking at it now, there's about a 13-second gap between Ashton Harrison, who leads in pro, and Eric Filgueras, who's 8 on the road. So a bundle of cars he's got to get through as well, and a big time delta to try and manage.
Got the update. Oh, big slide there from Charlie Luck. He's looking vulnerable. DeBoer is looking strong. The overall lead has changed hands. Ashton Harrison through on Ziad Gondor. Quickly to go back to the pit lane story. Gondor would have left the pits ahead of the right car anyway because he came in ahead, but the report is, as we watch how the overall lead changed hands, there might be an issue with the pit speed limiter on the number 120, the Adelson car, and so they wanted to make sure that Morad was going, I guess, to judge speed based on that. That's the report, at least.
They certainly gave it a big margin if that was the case, because he was there for a long, long time before he released out of the box.
Windshield wipers going for Samantha Tan. DeBoer is through on luck. That would be what, for third position in Pro-Am. Tan now. I think that track is getting slick.
Really slick. And if you've not really got a lot of energy in these tires by loading the car up, the more you tiptoe, it almost backfires on you in terms of trying to find grip. It keeps them low through the corners. The tire temperature maintains, and it gives you bite.
Those little oscillations on the wheel from Samantha, that is the look of someone who's just tiptoeing around this track, trying to make sure you don't overstep the limit.
Just trying to feel it. This is a battle for the Pro-Am lead right now. Adelson has caught back up with this 9 machine.
Oh, what a weekend it's been for Adelson and Skier. They won not just in class, but overall yesterday, and Adelson is feeling it. Sent it around the outside into turn 3, and he's able to sprint ahead. First place in class now to the Wright Motorsports driver.
Yeah, just a lot of confidence behind that wheel right now. They've had such a successful season. Look for win number 4.
And if it is wet, is there a platform you'd rather have than that rear-engine Porsche?
You got that weight over those rear driving wheels, so it certainly makes it a little bit easier than comparison to, say, the Mercedes or this BMW. You don't have the weight over the rear axle.
34 minutes to go in the race. Let's hear more from Amanda.
And guys, I am starting to see these wet tires come closer and closer to the wall as the rain picks up here on the front stretch. You'll remember back in those pit stops at the 28 of Stephen McAleer came into pit lane early. He was telling me that they felt like that maybe they got those tires out of the warmers earlier than they needed to kick off this race. Said he really didn't feel like he had anything under him that entire race. He went out on the scrub tires and left the sticker tires for Eric Voulgaris for the second half.
So maybe he hit the wear plateau, and that's why he started to drop back late in the stint. That would be my supposition from that information. Battle here. Seth Lucas in the Porsche with the Motul sponsorship, just behind. Justin Wetherill having one of his better runs of this season to date.
Yeah, I think Seth got around Justin on this lap. We see
I think
Torres aboard the 16 machine, ACI Motorsports Porsche 911 GT3R.
That pass, by the way, not for position. Lucas, a Pro Class car around the Pro-Am car of Wetherill.
So Voulgaris going to work. He's got 33 minutes to work with. Ideally, he'd love a yellow. He'd love a short incident that would compress this field and not give him such a time deficit to try and work through.
Yeah, 'cause I don't think he's getting it done based on lap time alone. He ran a 2:11.6. Ashton Harrison out front ran a 2:11.2.
This is for P2 in the Pro-Am class. Derek DeBoer pretty forceful there, dives it down to the inside of Ziad Gandor and grabs it.
It is cool to see Derek in such fine form. He has been driving extremely well the last few races.
Yeah, it looks like that Aston is coming alive in these slightly slippy conditions right now. He's 2 seconds faster than Adelson on that last lap, who leads in Pro-Am right now. Look at the sideways move there for Ziad Gandor.
Yeah.
Charlie Luck trying to get by him.
And Gondor's got his hands full even before you factor in the fact that Charlie Luck is right there. Charlie coming to the inside. Oh, that was late. Can he get it slowed down enough to make the corner? I think he can. Wow, what a move.
That was. He had tried to protect, got that move done too late. Charlie just dives down the inside and keeps it together. That's a battle for the final podium spot in Pro-Am.
That's right. Next to take a crack at Gondor is Samantha Tan. She pops to the inside now. Oh, we're seeing more windshield wipers on so many of these cars now. The grip level variable. Rain in some parts of the track, dry in others. Everyone's still on the slicks.
These drivers who don't have the experience of the pros who started this race are really doing a phenomenal job. This is where it really tests your abilities. A lot of horsepower in these machines, just trying to keep it to the ground.
Jan Halen watching intently as his father-in-law pilots that number 45.
Here comes Samantha Tan, though, on the attack. Looks like she's got a little bit more pace than Charlie at this stage of the game. But up front is Ashton Harrison.
Well, I made the comment earlier, if it's raining, what car do you want to have? And Porsche usually is the answer, but the NSX has a legacy of being very strong in the rain. You see her advantage there over Adelson. De Boer, they're third on the road. Great drive from Derek. Then you find this fight here with Charlie Luck and Samantha Tan.
Yeah, and to your point on the Acura, even when it made its debut, it was struggling for sort of dry pace, but whenever it rained, it was suddenly a factor. That trend has continued throughout its evolution.
You can see just how much curve the BMW can use relative to the Porsche. And that's the thing all the Porsche teams were telling us earlier in the weekend. They're losing time through this section because they feel like if they straddle some of those sleeping policemen, as our friend Brian Till likes to call those orange curves at the apex, it might do some damage to the car. Meanwhile, the BMWs have no such concerns.
Now, Jan Halen said he was trying to attack those curves earlier in the weekend. He said they were just really destroying the floor of the race car, so we had to adjust our line accordingly.
Phil Garris told me, he asked me, have you ever driven this track on a simulator? I said, well, yeah. He said, have you ever hit one of those curves in the sim and you just go flying through the air? I said, yes. Well, that's what we're doing. I said, that sounds unpleasant.
That team continued to work. He was very downbeaten earlier this week and just felt they were really on the defense. And Samantha now on the attack. Charlie to the middle of the road. That will shallow the angle. Samantha just cuts it back across there. I think it's just a matter of time.
Do have one note from race control. We'll get to that in a second because Samantha Tan is on the attack. This is such a great part of this racetrack, the way it crosses back left and right. Gives you a chance to attack and counterattack. Samantha up the inside. Charlie gives her just enough room. It is close.
It's really tight right there. The slightest of touches would send Charlie around right at that point in that corner.
Samantha, a real success story of this championship. Started off in touring cars, made her way up to GT4, graduated to GT3 a few years ago. Just honing that racecraft and getting better year on year. Quickly to put to bed the message from race control, there is a pit stop under review. That's the 08 from DXDT Racing that Brian Sellers started and Scott Smithson is currently driving. Not sure what the outcome of that is just yet.
John Edwards looking on here, watching his young charge, Samantha Tan, go after this Porsche. John was very frustrated yesterday by that move that Elliott Skier made up to the inside, which caused that sandwich, which turned Colin Brown around and caused damage to the ST Racing machine. Had a chance to have calmed down and maybe looked at the video. I think Elliott Skier just took advantage of an opportunity there, and John had nowhere to go. He was venting his feelings mid-race, but they've come back nicely here today. It was a great opening lag by John today.
This stint has been excellent from Samantha too right now. A little bit off the podium, but still a strong run. Going up against the team that's been the benchmark in the Pro-Am class for the past several seasons, Wright Motorsports. They haven't always won the championship, but they've always been in the mix, so it's a great way to judge where your program stands and look at the straight line speed of the BMW. That brings Samantha right to the flank of Charlie Luck. Charlie, though, has just enough speed. Oh, but he left the door open. Samantha took a peek.
Isn't quite getting far enough alongside to just force her way through without possibly having some contact there, so she's managing and being very disciplined, but I think she has more raw pace right now.
Under 30 minutes to go. John Edwards on the radio there with Samantha, helping her out, helping her plot a course. That could see her up to 4th overall and potentially onto the podium in Pro-Am.
Well, Derek De Boer is absolutely flying in front of this group and is catching Adam Adelson for the Pro-Am lead.
He was, gave up a little bit on that last lap, just a few tenths, but prior to that had some pace in hand on Adelson. The gap right now 2.2 seconds as Edwards talks to Samantha.
Charlie taking it really shallow there. That means he comes off the corner a little bit wide. Samantha can straighten her hands and go back to power sooner, getting the run down the hill.
Under the bridge, through the S's. Fast, flowing rhythm section of this racetrack.
Even though we see the wipers going, I think it's sort of like the racing surface is stabilized here a little bit, not so much drizzle around. Just needs to time this, just needs to use the flow and rhythm of this circuit to pounce.
Seems like a good chance could be at the end of that 3/4 of a mile backstretch.
Charlie's pretty feisty too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in a number of battles over the last couple of seasons. We've seen him get his elbows out. He doesn't just step out of the way.
Let's watch here. Samantha, to my eye, is a little closer than she was the last time, and she was still able to pull up alongside. Charlie defended to the left in the middle of the track last time. Samantha looks left, comes back to the other side now. Driver's right on Charlie Luck. Tries to get that jump.
Yeah, it's almost going to take a double move there when she sort of like feints to the right, immediately go back to the left and see if you can surprise Charlie.
Well, this might be a chance too. Door was open. Samantha Tan in the number 38 BMW from ST Racing, putting all kinds of pressure on Charlie Luck.
Okay. Getting the steward's attention, I would think. A little bit of movement there by Charlie. He's been pretty savvy. He's able to maintain pace and keep moving around, defending that position. Here comes Filgaris to take advantage. This is a pro racing car. Slides it around Samantha Tan. She may have just got the word, just let him go.
Yep, not for class
Stay
position.
with him, though. See if when he opens the door on Charlie Luck, if you can go through with him. May have let him go too much.
Yeah. Ideally, he comes through, then he passes Luck and punches the hole for you to follow. Luck getting a little bit defensive on Filgaris. Eric late on the brakes. Too late on the brakes. Oh, and here comes Samantha as well. 4th, 5th, and 6th on the road. The battle for the final step of the Pro-Am podium with the 2nd place car in the Pro class running at the back of this 3-car train.
Well, that scenario played out exactly as we forecast, but unfortunately she wasn't quite close enough coming down the front straightaway to take advantage there. If she'd been a little bit closer to Eric Filgaris, she may have been able to take advantage on Charlie there, but she's a bit too far back. So time to refocus here, reset.
Harrison continues to lead overall over Adam Adelson by 5 seconds. Then it's Derek DeBoer, and then you find this triumvirate, which is about to be a quartet. Enter Jeff Burton. How about that?
He and Corey have had good pace in that 91 machine this weekend. We keep talking about DXDD, CT, gradually getting things together there with that AMG car. Keep working on it. They're working hard. They've got some great personnel there. Simon Morley, Stefan Pfeiffer, all working really, really hard to unlock the speed in that Mercedes compared to a couple of the other cars in the field.
Once again, Samantha can get alongside in the brake zone, but Charlie's got enough stopping power. Oh, but he drifted wide that time.
Yeah, she really worked that big time in terms of that angle of attack. Charlie's going to come back out of watch Filgaris there. He's going to try and fill that slot on the exit.
Yeah, Filgaris is not loving this. He wants to catch Ashton Harrison to battle for his class lead, and he's been stuck behind this battle, in part because he ran deep in turn 1 on the last lap when it looked like he might be clear.
These drivers battling have allowed Jeff Burton to close in immediately.
And that is another Pro-Am car to join this battle with Halen, Tan, and company. Now it's Burton, and here comes another Pro car into the mix too. Seth Lucas is starting to close in. It's now 5 cars in this train. Luck has the buffer of Filgaris between himself and his closest pursuer in class, Samantha Tan.
They're identical spec Porsches running in different classes, of course, because the class is dependent on the driver lineups.
2 excellent teams fielding these cars as well, Wright Motorsports and RS1. Wright with a ton of experience at the GT3 level, less so for RS1, it's their first year. But no strangers to Porsches, that's for sure.
Samantha can just place that car wherever she wants over these curves.
That's
it's like
right.
There's nothing there.
She's got to be careful now. Jeff Burton is looming large, and here comes Seth Lucas too.
Such an interesting dynamic with the multi-class racing here.
Multi-class, but all on the same GT3 platform. The only difference is driver experience and, of course, the setup the individual teams put on the race cars.
Garris here, what is he thinking? Still a big points weekend, win here yesterday, but they want more. When you have 11 wins on a season, it becomes a bit of a habit. You have that momentum.
That was their year last year in Pirelli GT4 America. They were almost perfect. McAleer, Phil Garris in RS1 racing a Porsche Cayman. It's come pretty quickly to them this year too. Here comes Lucas. Remember that car yesterday looked like he had a chance to win this race. Picked up some damage late in the race to that diffuser, no fault of theirs, and that car, as a consequence, lost a lot of its handling capabilities, dropped back through the pack late.
Young team that's doing great things immediately.
Yep.
Young team in terms of how long they've been together, and young driver lineup as well.
Looks like Phil Garris is closer this time. How hard is Charlie going to fight?
I think they should let him go.
I do too. That was late from Phil Garris,
Yeah,
but he gets alongside.
Yeah, that was managed a little bit better than that previous attempt. Real art to that with the ABS. You just dive it down the inside, think you're going to be able to manage it, and then just the electronics take over. You wash out wide, so all part of the learning curve for young Eric Filgaris.
One other thing to watch with 20 minutes to go, Adam Adelson has been steadily closing in on Ashton Harrison. Now, those two cars are not in the same class, but there's something about 2 overall wins in a weekend that sounds mighty tempting, I would think, if you're sitting in the number 120 car running 2nd overall at the moment.
Yeah, they have the lead in the Pro-Am Championship right now by 11 markers over the 04 car, who will not get anything here today with that DNF.
Right here, Burton battling with Seth Lucas. Under 20 minutes to go. Race 2 at Circuit of the Americas coming down to the wire. Race Control did issue a blocking warning to Charlie Luck, so he'll have to be careful here as his battle with Samantha Tan continues.
Yeah, there was a bit too much movement there at one phase, and I thought that was going to get the ire of the race director. He's savvy. I mean, he's a racer, Charlie Luck is. I mean, he really gets his elbows out. He really puts up a strong defense, and he has the ability to keep moving forward at a rapid pace, yet placing that car where it's really hard to get around.
It's what you'd expect for someone who cut his teeth in the NASCAR Busch Series back in the 1980s. That's Charlie's racing background. Did a lot of stock car stuff when he was younger. Got out of it for a while. Saw him show up a couple of years ago in the GT America Championship single driver 40-minute races with this Wright Motorsports team and won the SRO 3, which is effectively a GT3 class championship, and then made the move up to Fanatec GT World Challenge the following year.
Great dynamic. Co-driving with his son-in-law, of course, Ian Halen. All the celebrations with that family lately.
Yeah, very true. New addition makes Jan a father and Charlie a grandfather, so congratulations certainly to the Luck and Halen family. Right now, though, all eyes on this race car. Can they bring home a podium here in this second race of the weekend? Samantha Tan was there not so long ago, but she's dropped back, Calvin.
She has, but she's got pace there. It seems like she's about half a second quicker than Charlie on a clear lap, so just got to wait and see what she can come up with in the closing phase of this race. This is where that car is strong, where the Porsche struggles a little bit at the end of this second sector here. Second sector completes just before you get to the brakes there for the turn 12 brake zone.
To say, I am wondering how much did Samantha use up those tires running in the wake in that aero wash behind Charlie Luck for the bulk of this stint. Looked like she was really working him over hard. That can take a toll on the tires if you stay there in that aero wash for an extended period of time.
Oh, for sure it can, and I think she got out shuffled there with Eric Filgaris finally figuring out the solution to that puzzle of getting through that traffic. But last lap across the line, she was half a second quicker than Charlie, so I don't think it's over yet. They'll keep digging, keep pushing her, try and find a little bit of speed here before the end.
You manage this, though, with Seth Lucas coming through. Seth will want to get past because Seth is chasing this car, Eric Filgaris, for second in the pro class.
Okay, comparison here on times this time across the stripe. Charlie responds, big lap there for Charlie Luck, 3/4 of a second quicker than Tan. So it wasn't so much Samantha slowing down, it was Charlie speeding up.
Wow, that was a big lap. That might have been the fastest lap of anyone other than Filgaris that last time around. Will Hardiman moving pretty quick as well. Taking a look there on the left-hand side of the screen. That is Stephen McAleer watching on his young co-driver, Eric Filgaris, with that incredible lap the last time by. He ran a 2:07.4, Calvin. That's 1.3 seconds quicker than the leader.
Yeah, and that's what we've seen when Eric's out in, let's call it, his group. He really seems to be the driver to beat. He and Stephen McAleer now hold a 24-point lead in the championship coming into today's race, but they're going to lose 7 of those to the 93 that sits in second the way they run as we speak.
Fantastic camera shot there. Shows the speed and showcases the sound of GT3 racing. Under 15 minutes to go now. Filgaris trying to erase a deficit of 14 seconds. That is a tall order. Plus he's got a couple Pro-Am cars to get through if he's going to run down Harrison.
He just needs to get his head down and just see if he can get closer. If there's a little bobble by the 93, be close enough to take advantage of it. So he's not going to settle in, I don't think. He's going to keep pushing, as we've seen from his previous lap times here in the last 5 minutes.
Pedro Torres, a little bit further down the order, running 10th overall. Looks like he must have gotten around Justin Wetherell on that lap, so move him up to 9th overall, and that's a class position there too. This team has been super impressive. ACI Motorsports, long-time entrant in Porsche single-make racing, but running GT4 and GT3 cars for the first time this year. And here is one of the benchmark teams in this championship over the past few years, Racers Edge Motorsports. Mario Farnbacher really needs no introduction, and Ashton Harrison, who is becoming one of those rising stars in the sport.
She really is. I mean, she's all in on this. I mean, she lives and breathes motorsport right now, just soaks it up, does everything that she can associated with the Wayne Taylor Racing Group as well, of course. So she feeds off of them, all of their experience and knowledge from their drivers up through the engineering department as well. And she's not to be denied. She's a pretty feisty racer.
And she leads right now by a healthy margin of 3.8 seconds with under 13 minutes to go. It's Ashton Harrison in command.
Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, is brought to you by Mercedes-AMG, Porsche, and Toyota.
Overall leader from Racers Edge Motorsports. It was 3.8 seconds the last time by. I mentioned a few laps ago that Adam Adelson was beginning to make some headway, but Ashton has answered and has eclipsed Adelson's lap times each of the past 2 laps and built that lead back. It was down around 3.2. It's now 3.8. Let's check that time at the line here this time. Adelson, that time by, pretty much equal on pace with Harrison. That's her top 2 as they come up the hill, 130 feet up the hill in turn number 1. Then we drop back and find this beautiful Aston, Derek DeBoer having his best run of the season, and then Eric Filgaris.
Yeah, and I think the reason Ashton's staying up on the wheel is they recognize there's still time on board for Filgaris to get close to her, so you can't relax too much. He's carving laps, a good second plus quicker than the leader right now.
That's right. It was 14 seconds not so long ago. It's down under 12 now. Here's the 91 Burton Lumber car. Jeff Burton driving. Corey Lewis started. Jeff having a very nice day, a really nice weekend in general for Jeff here today and this weekend in general.
Yeah, really solid weekend, no drama, and that's what this team is looking for, just to settle everything down a little bit. They've got a lot of potential here. They just need to execute their race weekend, stay out of trouble.
The XDT, they've got the resources, they've got the personnel. We're just waiting for them to break through. We've seen the pace now a bit more regularly here in the last 2 rounds of the championship. Trending in the right direction.
We've been doing some data analysis, even compared against the other Mercedes, and they said we're getting close in every department, but just these mid-range torque and acceleration, they just seem to be losing a little bit, which has really got them scratching their heads.
Said it a couple of times, this is some of the best racing form I've seen from Derek DeBoer, running a very spirited second place right now in the Pro-Am class, 3rd overall, and pretty close to matching the race pace from most of the cars within his class. He's still very new to GT3 racing in this Aston platform.
He is, and it's great to see. He loves it. He, just like a number of these drivers in this field, that's all he thinks about is being behind the wheel of this race car. And got this opportunity. He's got great teammates this year in VHC and Ross Gunn, who's going to join him for a couple more races this season. So he's got all of the tools to get it done. Great team in TRG led by Kevin Buckler. I thought at one point he may have had the edge in speed from over Adam Adelson to go chase down the Pro-Am leader, but that kind of settled down, and now he sits there about just under 5 seconds back.
He did gain on that last lap, for what it's worth, but the gap is perhaps too extreme at the rate at which he is closing, or at least he closed on the last lap to make any kind of major impact with 9 minutes and 20 seconds to go.
Filgaris is coming, though. He is now 9.5 seconds back behind the overall leader. He is cutting into this lead. Will he have enough time to get there? And he's got traffic to cut through at the same time.
Let's compare and contrast the pace of these cars here the last couple of laps. DeBoer and Filgaris, you can see pace advantage, as you would expect of Filgaris in the Pro Class car. That's how he has run down Derek DeBoer. He's there now, and it would be best for both of them if this overtake happens nice and clean.
You know, he can see Ashton Harrison just down the road, and once he clears Derek DeBoer, the only car between he and the leader is Adam Adelson. So what he needs to do is make short work of Derek DeBoer here, and a lot of that will come down to what messaging that Derek is getting from the TRG pit box as well.
Derek would have liked to have been able to make the move right there in that braking zone. Instead, he's stuck behind here in the stadium portion. Difficult place to make an overtake without taking some risk.
This is where he needs to be efficient, Eric Filgaris. Looks like Derek has opened the door through nice and easy. That's good. So if you think back to 4 or 5 laps ago when he made that move on Charlie Luck, ran wide, that then took him 2 or 3 more laps to clear Samantha Tan and Charlie Luck. How critical is that going to be at the end of this race now?
Yeah, exactly right. Under 8 minutes to go. And Eric Filgaris is starting to close the gap to Ashton Harrison. Here's Ashton. Adelson is the second car you see on the screen, the leader in the Pro-Am class. Now we wait, and there is Filgaris. What's the gap this time? Oh, it's only 8.5 seconds now, Calvin. Even with the traffic making that pass on DeBoer, Filgaris carved a second off.
They might have 4 laps left, so you know he's going to need to get the hammer down, and he's got clear air on the front of that Porsche now. So Ashton Harrison needs to keep grinding. She needs to keep digging deep. Don't make a mistake. You can't afford to have a lap where you have a little slide and lose a couple of seconds. That'll just heap the pressure up and ramp it up to the next level.
If you're in Ashton's shoes, do you want to know how quickly Filgaris is coming?
Well, you just got to be focused, and the team's just got to tell you a lap time to achieve. They'll have worked out what she needs to do lap after lap to get to the checkered flag, even with the pace that Eric Filgueras is showing. I think they did catch a break with a couple of laps that it took Eric to get around the 45 and the 38 machines, respectively.
This Wright Motorsports team looking to sweep the weekend in the Pro-Am class. They're in position to do so. There's Elliott Skier on the left, on the radio with Adam Adelson. In this beautiful green and yellow Porsche 911.
Seems to be the third sector where Filgueras is really making up most of the time. Sector 1 and Sector 2, there's only a tenth or two between he and Ashton Harrison, but on previous laps, the third sector is where Eric Filgueras seems to make up a lot of ground.
Going to be many laps left. Time starting to run out for Eric Filgueras, but it's been an impressive drive to carve into a lead that at one point was nearly 15 seconds. The last time by, it was less than half of that. We'll have a chance to check it here now. Harrison did a 2:09.2. Filgueras a 2:07.1. It's down to 6.5 seconds now.
Yeah, they got 3 laps here to work with, it looks like. So 2 seconds a lap is good to put him right there, but he does have Adam Adelson to deal with in the meantime as well, so it's going to be very, very tight. And I just harp back to those couple of laps that he lost there by having to readdress when he ran wide up in turn 1. Being super critical here. It's been a monster drive by Eric Filgueras, but he'd love to have that move back again, because he could have been 3 or 4 seconds closer at this stage.
Is RS1 on the horn to their fellow Porsche team? Wright Motorsports asking for a little help here?
I think for sure. Let's not forget that car's a little bit more downforce, maybe a little bit stronger into the brake zone here.
Yeah, Filgueras will know he needs to get by Adelson as quickly and cleanly as possible. And this is without any drama. Adelson knows exactly what is at stake, which for him is nothing. For Filgueras, he's got everything on the line. That was efficient, and now he can put that head down and chase Ashton Harrison, who again, the two of them collided at NOLA Motorsports Park just about a month ago, and have a chance to rekindle that little rivalry that is brewing.
I think Adelson was tempted there with that lower downforce Porsche, the older generation car, to maybe have a little nibble back at Filgueras, but his team's probably talking to him. Don't be silly here, just settle back in, follow him through, maintain pace. He can't afford to drop off too much because Derek DeBoer will be there in an instant.
This is the graphic I'm wanting to see. The math doesn't quite work for Filgueras, I don't think.
He's going to be a lap shy if Ashton keeps her head down.
But one little wobble out of Ashton, and it's a totally different scenario. Into the final minutes of race 2 of the weekend at Circuit of the Americas, Ashton Harrison leads Eric Filgueras. Checking the times at the line, Filgueras still, even with that pass, ran a 2:07.5 to Harrison's 2:09.1. The gap is down to 4.9 seconds with effectively 2 laps to go.
2 laps to go. Yeah, I think he's a lap or 2 shy of being able to catch her here, but certainly is ramping up this pressure. She will be getting the message. She'll also be starting to see this little black and green speck on the rear view facing camera.
Harrison,
don't miss that neon green when it's coming back at you.
Harrison and company looking for their second win of the season. Remember the fireworks in race 2 in Sonoma, her bold move up the inside of Manny Franco to take the win on the final lap in the second to last corner. Hopefully no fireworks required for Ashton here today. She's just been managing this gap her entire stint, and the team has been coaching her through it to perfection.
Sector 2, they're pretty even, so around this long straightaway, I think the Acura may have a little bit of an edge, but it's the Sector 3 that really the Porsche is coming into its own with the downforce that that car has, and Eric's skill behind the wheel, of course.
That's the gap, first to second. Acura over Porsche. Racer's Edge up against RS1. Harrison up against Filgueras.
There is the carrot. There is the carrot. Go get her. He's doing everything he can.
Burton coming up the inside of Samantha Tan. We did get a report that the tire wear was a little extreme for John Edwards in his stint. Now we're seeing Samantha start to back up a little bit.
Still a great weekend for her. Been really impressed with her driving this season in general. I think she's shining alongside John Edwards, who's kind of given her a great yardstick to work against.
Really big program for her, racing internationally as well in Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. In addition to what she's doing here, some other endurance racing series too. White flag waves for the leader. Ashton Harrison leads Eric Vilgaris now by 3.7 seconds. Ashton did her best lap in quite some time, a 2:08.7 compared to a 2:07.5 from Eric.
Final lap, just hit your marks. You've done the majority of the work, just finish it off.
But again, this weekend, if you looked at the qualifying results, you would have said, I don't know if this is going to be anything more than a damage limitation weekend for Racer's Edge. They were way behind the 8 ball yesterday, somehow rallied to finish second, and today they could be in line for their first overall win of the year, second in class.
It just showcases you got to keep your head in the game. I mean, racing's a funny business in terms of what can happen, the dynamic, with teams having a little bit of rough luck. And look at this group. When I spoke to Eric, you thought someone had killed his cat or something. I mean, he was just so down in the dumps the other day, and I just said, hang in there. The team has the ability to keep dialing this car, and they suddenly found the magic on Friday night. The car was much stronger in qualifying trim yesterday.
Derek DeBoer might be closing in on Adelson for the lead in Pro-Am. It was only 1.5 seconds at the line here on the final laps. We'll have to keep our eyes on that as well. Mario Farnbacher looks like a bundle of nerves as he watches Ashton Harrison come through the stadium section one last time. The checkered flag just a few corners away.
Wonderful job of managing this. She just had to keep hitting those numbers. Vilgaris was on the attack. He had pace. Just 3 more corners to go.
Ashton knew the number she needed to hit. It's been a perfectly managed stint from inside the cockpit for her. Mario Farnbacher set the table with his phenomenal opening stint, and the team already heading out to the wall to celebrate as Ashton Harrison comes around the final corner and takes the checkered flag. Harrison, Farnbacher, and Racer's Edge win race 2 at COTA. Adelson coming across the line, 3rd overall, but good enough to win in the Pro-Am class, holding off the hard-charging Derek DeBoer, who comes home with another strong result. 2nd place for Derek and Valentin Hasseklo.
Big points, great result for TRG there.
Oh, we had a car off. That was Torres on the final lap. He was running just outside the top 5 at the time in the Pro-Am class. Heartbreak for the ACI Motorsports team. But on the other end of the spectrum, here comes the real-time racing, Bartone Brothers Racing Mercedes. Andy Pilgrim got it started today. And this continues to be about learning, about logging the laps for Anthony Bartone. Running unopposed right now in the AM class, but perhaps some changes afoot. But valuable experience.
Very
for
much so, and
Bartone.
his lap times have been impressive, but on laps in the 2:07 range, so it's a really solid weekend for him. Had heartbreak this morning when he had the lead of the race just prior to a restart, lost the rear end of the Mercedes in damp conditions, so he'll be kicking himself about that one, but that's all part of the learning process. Very young in his career, but great personality and another solid day.
It is. This is going to be a young man to watch. You got to think he's only done about a dozen GT3 races when you combine Fanatec GT and GT America. But already has displayed very good pace, impressive racecraft, and he comes through to take the checkered flag. Anthony Bartone, Andy Pilgrim, and real-time racing with Bartone Brothers Racing. Back on board, though, with the overall leader and winner, Ashton Harrison, Mario Farnbacher. She is in a hurry to get back to the pit lane and celebrate a hard-earned first overall win this season.
Great result, making the move to the pro class, and Take 7 points out of that 24-point lead, I believe it was, coming into this round of the championship over Eric Filgueras and Stephen McAleer, who had a really strong day once again, a win and a second-place finish for both pairs, actually, for the 93 and the 28 on the weekend.
Phenomenal performance from the Racers Edge team. This is one they will relish for a long time to come.
Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS is brought to you by Skip Barber Racing School, VP Racing, Optima Batteries, and 511.
Let's take a look at our results here from race number 2. Your winners today, Ashton Harrison and Mario Farnbacher, on a weekend that started dismally for these two. They did not think they had the pace to fight at the pointy end, and they come away with a second and a win. Same story, frankly, for Filgueras and McAleer. Same results, just flip-flop the days.
Yeah, a lot of the favorites had bad days, so it opened up the door, and these guys and girls took advantage of it.
Skier and Adelson, the winners in the Pro-Am class. DRG, another podium as well right there. And Bartone and Pilgrim picking up the win in the Am class. Oh, the celebrations already underway down in Victory Circle. Mario Farnbacher's already got his Pirelli winner's hat on. And Ashton Harrison can't get the helmet off fast enough. Oh, she's ready to celebrate a hard-earned victory. And I believe we've got Amanda standing by. Oh, there's a big hug there. Let's go ahead and hear from our race winners, Amanda.
Yeah, and the celebrations just keep on happening. Mario Farnbacher picked up Ashton Harrison as she got out of the car. And Ashton, I'm going to come straight to you. I had asked Mario when they let you know that Eric was on the charge to you. When was that moment when you found out that the Porsche was hunting you down?
Well, to be honest, every time I came into the back straightaway, if you have like a millisecond to kind of glance at the other corner, and the first couple laps I didn't see him, and then the last probably 5 or 6 laps I started to see his car, and I just knew that there was a gap, that if we just kept our heads down, kind of watched the weather and did what we need to do, that we would still win this race. So that was my goal. There's no reason to push whenever we have a gap like that and the weather's starting to change. So I did what I could and brought it back. But Mario did an amazing job at the start. I mean, he's more than half the reason we're in this position. So I'm so thankful for him.
Mario, you said, gosh, it was such a tough weekend and just battling through it. John Meraki told us earlier that he tries to keep motivating you guys to focus lap after lap to stay in it. How much did you utilize that this weekend?
Well, first of all, it was not an easy weekend, like you said, yes. NOLA was a big setback. It was a big disappointment. And we had the pace there, but it didn't work that like we wanted to. So I think this weekend was a good recovery from that. So really happy.
Congratulations, guys. Thank you. And then for our Pro-Am winners, Adam Adelson, just in his 6th race ever in a GT3 car. You told us earlier in the year that you were born to drive a GT3 car. I saw you pull close to the wall to show your team that you guys had won this race. How fun are those moments?
It's unbelievable. The success, yeah. The success that we've had, and largely thanks to this kid and, of course, the entire Wright team, and PMNA, Porsche Motorsports North America. The support from everyone has been absolutely immense. Elliot gave the car to me. We had a little bit of an electrical problem coming into the pits, so it took us a little longer to recycle the car and figure all that stuff out. But I had confidence in myself to be able to get around Ziad and just bring this thing home in one piece, and it's exactly what happened.
Elliot, there are several moves this weekend by you that are going to be on our highlight wheel that we'll look at for races to come. When you assess this track coming into it, how did you just find opportunities for yourself?
Yeah, I got lucky on this calendar this year, right? With Sonoma being a pretty hard track to pass at, it being my first weekend sprint racing a GT3 car, that was just soak it in and learn. Sit in P4 and just see what the guys in front of me are doing and learn from there. NOLA, a little bit easier to pass, but not that great. You come to COTA and you really have some opportunities, and 3rd weekend in the car, you start to understand what's needed to battle with the big boys here. So just incredibly proud of the team. They give us a whole weapon. The whole Wright organization are just an absolute family out here. And Adam did what he needed to bring it home. So we were fighting some issues through the race. Dash froze on the first lap, so we were just going by ear and by telemetry back to the team. So it's just on us to go out there and drive as hard as we thought we needed to.
Congratulations, guys. And then to our AM team this weekend. And Anthony, it is trial by fire for you out here. What are going to be your thoughts leaving Austin, Texas?
Just another weekend learning and, you know, maximize on every single lap. If you learn something every lap, you drive a lot of laps a year between both series, then you're moving in the right direction in the learning curve. So,
what did you learn this weekend?
That this is a cold-blooded sport, and you could be on top of a mountain 1 second and then in the deepest valley, but either way you got to keep driving it forward no matter which way it is.
That is a phenomenal answer from that young man. Really,
He's
really
relating to that spin this morning when he had the lead of the race and we went back to green.
That's right. Highlights from race 2 of the weekend here. And a crucial moment for a number of contenders. There were a few penalties doled out for the way that start played out, including for Ryan Dial in the Ferrari that runs second in that picture right there. It was Colin Brown who showed the way early on, but Calvin, that team hit some issues.
Technical issues, so we ain't sure exactly what it was, but an engine issue. But what a move by John Edwards here around the outside of Jan Halen, one of the toughest drivers to pass. He makes the move stick.
Edwards made up 7 spots on the first 2 laps. This was Elliott Skier carving his way towards the front, and also the first time we saw that there might be an issue with the 0-4.
Yeah, you can see it suddenly struggling for pace there as he accelerates down the back straightaway.
Good battles at the front. This is Gondor giving way to Harrison. Harrison coming through to take the overall lead at this portion of the racetrack and was able to sprint ahead and take the lead and held on the rest of the way. It was a remarkable weekend for the Racers Edge team, finishing with a first and a second. Same story for RS1. And then in the Pro-Am class, honors. Both races of the weekend went to Wright Motorsports with Adelson and Skier.
Eric Filgaris and Stephen McAleer!
Podium celebration underway. There's the second place pairing of Filgaris and McAleer. How close it was for those two. A couple more laps and Eric might have been there.
He was charging hard, and I think he'd love to have, we keep harping on it, but that move he made on Charlie Luck where he lost the position back again, that cost him 2 full laps, and the pace he had, that would have had him knocking on the door of Ashton Harrison at the checkered flag today.
Exactly right. Although I do think Ashton's comments post-race were telling, too. She said, look, we knew what the gap was. There was no reason to push. It was a well-managed race, and I think there's a decent chance she would have had the pace to answer if she needed to.
Yeah, to be determined, but yeah, I think you're right. There was a little bit more there. When you're leading the race, you're not going to put all the effort into maximize the lap time, so she had to dig deep a little bit more to get the win. But either way, brilliant weekend for them.
Now, this pro class, it's not super deep in terms of the number of cars, but it is hotly contested. And I think the storyline coming into the season, Calvin, no K-Pax Racing. They've been the dominant team over the past few seasons in the championship. What would it look like? It's been unpredictable and a lot of fun.
It has. So many new faces, so many new teams. They're all performing at a great level right now, and it's making the racing exciting. But you can also see some of the favorites like the CrowdStrike Racing team having a rough weekend on the back of really top speed and performance.
I'm just struck by the fact that this Racers Edge team kept their heads down all throughout the weekend. Again, they were pretty down in the dumps if you talked to them prior to race 1 yesterday. And to come out with a first and a second, that's something that can really help them, especially considering NOLA was such a disaster.
Yeah, and I think even with Mario Farnbacher's experience, I think I'll give a little bit of kudos here to John Maraki and the whole management team, like keeping their drivers focused. Listen, we're struggling a bit, but we'll keep digging. You never know what you can pull out of your hat here, and they've done it really, really well. It was a monster weekend in the points. Both RS1, they delivered as well. So it's going to be a fiercely contested championship in both the Pro and the Pro-Am classes. But you can't give up on these weekends. You never know what will happen.
Some great stories in the Pro-Am class as well. Adelson and Skier continue to shine, but behind them, how about TRG? Derek DeBoer really drove well this weekend. And Charlie Luck, he had to hold on because Jeff Burton maybe drove his best race of the year. Finishes off the podium in 4th, but he was right there at the end.
Yeah, certainly that team is on the comeback trail as well. TRG, great to see them back. Great to see Derek DeBoer finally getting GT3 experience on a regular level, and I think he's just going to get better and better as this season progresses.
Coming up next, of course, is a trip to VIR, another high-speed just incredibly fun racetrack. A lot of these drivers and teams can't wait to get there.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the S's as kind of similar, but the margin for error there is a lot slimmer.
It is a different equation, that's for sure. Here we have Bartone and Pilgrim
In the Pro-Am podium,
up on the rostrum, doing what they needed to do here this weekend, logging laps, logging that experience that will help Anthony Bartone in his continued development. It's been a fun weekend here in the Lone Star State. Austin has been awesome, as usual. Really rolled out the welcome mat, did Circuit of the Americas for the SRO Championships. Hope you enjoyed all of our coverage throughout the weekend for our entire team. It's time now to say so long from COTA. We'll see you at VIR. For those of you who are staying with us on the stream, we'll wrap up the podium here with the AM and the Pro-Am runners here today. And just got some of the best news we've had all weekend. Again, we did not have the Conquest car here in race number 2. Big crash for Manny Franco yesterday. Just wasn't quite up to it for race 2 today. But Amanda just reported that Manny will be back for VIR. That is very welcome news indeed. That it did. Look at all those folks up there on the rostrum, though. You can celebrate a little more on Sunday than you can when you get up there on Saturday, right?
Yes, you can spray the champagne and maybe have a sip or two as well.
Fantastic weekend. Great competition. Congratulations to all of our class winners and podium finishers here this weekend at COTA. Thanks to everyone as well behind the scenes who have made these broadcasts possible. And for you, for tuning in. Again, for our entire team, this is Ryan Marine saying goodbye from Austin, Texas.